Hey, Randy Russell. Hey, Mad Mike. I'm sorry for running late, guys. Hey, Lars. Hey, PT. Hey, Brian. Mad Mike, PT. Renee Herman. Sorry for running late, everybody. Hey, Cheyenne. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Big Hawk. I'm fine, man. Hey, Rocco. Hey, Chris. Just running a little late today, that's all. You know, I thought by scheduling this thing at curfew, there would never be a problem. That's just not the way life works. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Bobby. Thanks for liking the live, guys. Peeps are coming in. How's everybody doing tonight? Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Hey, Maddie Wright. Hey, Gilbert. Hey, Hobo. Craig, oh, God. God. What's that about? I'm running a few minutes late. No reasons to protest to the deity. Peter, Mods, and Peeps. That's who's here. You got that right, Maddie. Hey, Bjorn. Thanks. Hey, Renee. All right. So the Peeps are coming in now. So, ladies and gentlemen, and other non-binary folks, how do you do? I am Peter Alexievich, and this is the live at 5, delayed to 5:30, I guess, about 5:30, right? It is just past midnight here in Kyiv. Hey, Colin. Hey, Marius. And we have a few things to talk about. Now, one of the questions that came up last night, something somebody asked was, in light of the concerns that we have around Trump, right, now that he was nearly a martyr, and maybe that gives him a shot at the crown, what will happen to Ukraine if America cuts off its aid? And I said I did not know, right, and I really don't. However, a person that's in a better position to know than me is former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO in Europe, or of all allied forces in Europe, and that is General Richard Sharif. General Sharif gave an interview, and he said, and I quote, "All my Ukrainian friends say we will keep fighting." Now, I don't have the same kind of friends as General Sharif, but if anybody were in a position to know what was likely to happen here in Ukraine should American support wane, the former Allied Supreme Commander of forces in Europe ought to be the guy that would know. And he went on at some length that the Ukrainians and Europe should prepare for a world without America. And he was pretty clear about this, that 2% of GDP that the NATO partners are supposed to be spending on defense, they all ought to ratchet that shit up and be prepared to live in a world that is independent of the United States. This is the legacy of Donald Trump. We are abandoning our position as the leader of the world. That's what's going on, because he has demonstrated to everybody that we cannot be trusted to elect people that will govern the nation in our best interest and in the interest of the world. Oh, Moscow is celebrating over J.D. Vance. They love him. How anybody could watch the Russians celebrate J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and then vote for them is insanity. I think about all those defense industry guys who are all doing overtime, who all have new cars, new trucks, only because of the defense spending for Ukraine. And they're going to vote for Trump. They're going to slice their own throats in observance to their orange Jesus. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And America should be ashamed of itself. Ugh. This is the most amazing story ever. A guy named, I'm not going to say this right, but Mark Kruta, just a guy. He's just a fucking guy. He's nobody. I mean, I'm sure he's somebody to somebody, but he's just a guy on Twitter. You know what he did? He went on Google Earth and he started checking out around Putin's summer palace at Lake Valdai. And what does he find? He finds 6 or maybe 7 Pantsir S-1 air defenses and 2 full S-300 missile batteries. So apparently Moscow is under such threat from Ukrainian drones that they have moved something like $1 billion worth of air defense to protect Putin's summer cottage. Now, I say summer cottage, right? It's like a $2 billion residence on Lake Valdai. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous compound, like all of his palaces. But it certainly goes to the point of where the Russian priorities are. It's not the boys on the front line. It's Putin's booty. Protect the booty. There's a bunch of air defense stuff here. There's the air defense around the Putin Palace that was discovered by Google Earth, which I think is amazing. And then there was a $24 million Tor SAM system destroyed in Donetsk yesterday. Now, that marks the 57th such air system to be destroyed, $24 million. The Russians had 196 of them at the beginning of the war. They are still in production, with the Russians producing maybe between 15 and 20 of them a year, which is not enough to replace these losses. So we're unclear how many they have today, but they have less than when they started, that's for sure. Down around Mariupol, there's this freaky night vision video. It's like the Upside Down. It's all black and white. And it's of an ATACMS strike against an S-300 missile system in outside of Mariupol. Now, an S-300 missile system, a battery, consists of a command and control vehicle, 2 radars, and then the launchers. And a battery can have as many as 12 launchers. Well, it appears from this video that the radars were destroyed. The launchers were also damaged. The command and control vehicle was destroyed. And that's good news. The Russians had, at the start of the war, about 2,000 S-300 launchers and an unknown number of command and control and radar vehicles. Likely in the neighborhood of 160 each. So they're getting whittled away. As far as I know for sure, the F-16s have not arrived in Ukraine, right? There are rumors, there are claims, but there's no evidence. Despite the fact that the F-16s may not even be here in Ukraine. I said Mariupol, Melitopol. Good call. Good call, PT. You are correct. S-300 was near Melitopol, not Mariupol. Thanks, PT. Ural-based Russian petroleum supply company Forez has put a 15 million ruble bounty on the first Ukrainian F-16 to be destroyed. Now, these are the same jokers who put a 5 million ruble bounty on the first Leopards or Abrams to be destroyed. Now, we've seen Abrams destroyed. We've seen Leopards destroyed. They ain't paid no bounty yet. It's a publicity stunt. It's garbage. It's unbelievable bullshit. I mean, think about it. That would be like, Shell Oil Corporation during the Iraq War putting a bounty on Saddam Hussein or some shit like that. Shadowhunter, we'll get to that, but it's 32, and I'm not sure that that's really the right way to put that. The forces of the Ukrainian GUR today, even while we speak, are in the midst of a major cyber attack on Russian websites, targeting 100 companies that support the defense sector and the war in Ukraine. And apparently apparently there's a lot of folks in Russia that can't get to the websites they want to get to right now. They are down. I'm pleased to report that 95 Ukrainian POWs are home after the nightmare of being Russian prisoners of war. The prisoner swap was the 6th this year that was facilitated by the UAE, and the Russians got about 90 guys back as well. Ukraine has managed to repair and reconnect a 1 gigawatt nuclear power unit that had been out of service for a number of years. This adds a gigawatt of power to the grid every day. That's a huge win for Ukraine right now and will go a long way towards stabilizing the power grid. I'll tell you, it's amazing. I can't tell you, I've had power now for over 36 hours, and it is the most beautiful thing. Really, we really don't appreciate it, boy. This story is really near and dear to my heart because, I watched it for 7 months and I've covered it in depth. That is the Marine bridgehead in Krynky. On the left bank of the Dnipro, 300 Ukrainian Marines have been entrenched in the town of Krynky since October, 7 months, and have basically defended that position from the entire Russian army in Kherson for 7 months nonstop of insane bombing runs, of being hit with everything that the Russians had, and they could not dislodge them for 7 months. They have, as of today, officially withdrawn from Krynky, from the left bank. There's a handful of Marines reported to be left in Kozachi Lahari, just next door to Krynky. And it's believed that they will soon withdraw as well. Now, why? Right? We don't know. Could it be the constant bombardments? Could it be the attritional losses? Could it be all of the above? Yes. Could it, just dreaming for a second, could it also be that they're just getting out of the way of the F-16s? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice to think? We shall see. We shall see. Belgorad Governor Gladkov announced today that no civilians are permitted in 14 settlements along the border with Ukraine. They are being taken over by the military, and if you are not military, you do not enter these settlements. Now remember, this is the irony, right? The whole northern advance was intended to create a buffer zone for Russia from Ukraine. And now it appears that that buffer zone is being created. It's just being created inside of Russia. The exact opposite of what the Russians wanted. It's typical Russian boomerang diplomacy, right? I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say to me bounces off of me and sticks to you. Aid to Ukraine. This is a long list today. There's a lot going on. And what this list says is that the world is united behind the sovereign nation of Ukraine. That's what this says right here. Some of the details include $3 billion from Russian frozen assets to Japan. Japan is part of this scheme of the G7 to take the interest from the frozen Russian assets, bundle them, not bundle them up as a loan, float a loan to Ukraine for $50 billion. This is $3 billion of it right here. And then ensure that the loan gets paid using the interest payments from the frozen Russian assets. So the frozen Russian assets in Japan will make the interest payments on the loan, and the principal frozen Russian assets will serve as collateral on the loan. And so the West shouldn't lose. Hey, Betty Thompson, how you feeling, doll? The EU Bank for Reconstruction and Development has pledged 200 million euros to support the energy security and independence of the energy network in Ukraine for the creation of national gas strategic reserves in cooperation with Naftgaz, which is a Ukrainian gas company. So they're going to secure gas reserves. The 200 million will be used to create secure gas reserves. Czechia will build factories for Czech rifle production in Ukraine. This is a joint production deal inside of Ukraine between Czech Republic and the Kyiv regime. Belgium and Ukraine. Belgium will provide Ukraine with 150 million euro over 4 years for the reconstruction of schools. Something like 2,300 schools have been destroyed or damaged here in Ukraine, and Belgium is providing 150 million over 4 years for their reconstruction. Now, it's likely the contracts will have to go to Belgian contractors, right? That's how this will work. But the practical upshot is that Ukraine is getting 150 million euros, about $160 million, to rebuild the schools. Lithuania is providing Ukraine with 50 million euro worth of energy equipment. This is from the old Soviet style power plants, the thermal power plants, which have been destroyed here, but have been decommissioned in Lithuania. And so they're tearing those plants apart, the decommissioned plants in Lithuania, and they're shipping the components that are required to get these plants here back up and running. And so hopefully that equipment will help to stabilize the power grid here. Greece may be giving 32 decommissioned F-16s to Ukraine as they upgrade to F-35s. Now, it is not clear what this deal looks like. Are they selling them? Are they giving them? Are they right? Like it's not clear. But they need to be refurbished. They need to be upgraded. And so these 32 Greek F-16s are expected to come back to the United States for refurbishment and upgrades. And only then will they go to Ukraine, if they even end up in Ukraine at all. Now, if they do, if this is true, I want to point out that according to Zelensky, he needs 135 F-16s to clear his skies. There are 88 pledged. Another 32 would be 120. That would get him within 15 planes of his target. Now, again, Fitz, right? What's the timetable on them? Oh, geez Louise. I mean, you're talking a year, if they can even work it out, right? So it's hopeful, but it's far from being a done deal, and we don't know when they'll get here. Now, hang on, though. I think it's important to put this in some context. Do you remember that Russian missile that nearly unalived Greek Premier Mitsotakis when he was with Zelensky in Odessa? It appears that everybody in Greece, just like Mitsotakis, saw that as a direct message from Russia, a threat against Greece. And so since then, support for Ukraine has expanded in Greece, with 72% of the Greek population supporting more aid to Ukraine. Also, let's remember that Greece has not exactly been on the sidelines. They have supplied artillery shells, APCs, Stinger missiles, to the tune of 2 C-130 loads of equipment sent to Ukraine. And it is likely that the attempt on Mitsotakis' life has led to even more support for Ukraine. Just the opposite, right? Like the exact opposite of what Putin expects will happen is what actually happens every fucking time. Because the rest of us aren't driven by fear. That's why. Germany is planning to, okay, you may see a story that Germany is planning to cut Ukraine aid by half next year, from 8 million to 4 million, or I'm sorry, from 8 billion to 4 billion rubles. It is important to note that last year at this time, the budget was half of that as well. I mean, you can't, these budgetary issues work themselves out. And so it is likely, based on projections, based off of the funding decisions made over the last 2 years, it is likely that Ukraine will end up with $10 billion next year, 10 billion euros, pardon me, from Germany. That's just not, it's just inaccurate reporting and doesn't take into account the realities of politics. And it is worth noting that today the Germans pledged 10 million euro for the rebuilding of the Kyiv's Children's Hospital, which means that they've raised about $25 million now for the rebuilding of that effort. The ruble is not toilet paper because toilet paper is worth more than the ruble. EU announces new 4.2 billion in aid for Ukraine. It's not clear to me what that aid is earmarked for. I think it appears to be government functioning. So salaries for secretaries and administrative assistants, etc. China and Russia have begun their maritime cooperation live fire exercises between the People's Liberation Navy and the RU Pacific Fleet out in the South China Sea. These include anti-submarine drills and other naval exercises. It's an effort to make Russia look like it means something. It doesn't. Russia doesn't bring anything militarily to China, especially not the Pacific Fleet of the Russian Federation. So it's a posturing for, I guess, a domestic audience. I guess they're trying to intimidate the world, but the world does not pay attention. Ukraine has published a list of 42,000 missing Ukrainians. Now, these are not military. These are not, these are special circumstances people. These are 42,000 people who the Russians have deported, detained, dispatched, or disappeared. 42,000. That does not include the 19,000 plus children. Can you imagine? Over 63,000 of your citizens are just missing down the black hole that is the Russian Federation. Finally, Russia's gone to great lengths to get around the sanctions by creating a shadow fleet of tankers that can carry oil around the world anonymously. Well, that backfired like fuck today, or yesterday, in the last 24 hours, when 2 Russian oil tankers were hit by Houthi missiles. Right now, the Houthis have previously stated that Chinese and Russian ships are safe, right? They can transit, no problem. But both of these ships were on their way to China from Russia. One was filled with crude oil. The other was filled with vegetable oil. It could have been an international eco disaster, of course, but the Houthis are incompetent and don't have good weapons. And so it does appear that the one UAV struck the oil tanker, but it did not damage it in any significant way. It continued under its own power back to a port for a damage assessment. So those are my top lines today, guys. I apologize for running late. I again want to thank all the mods. Thank our sponsor for tonight, who is Ballerina. Is Ballerina here? I'm late, so maybe not. And so everybody thank Ballerina. Thanks to the mods, Cheyenne, Vanetta, PT, Jay, John Williams, and Travis. Big thanks to Vanetta, who is on vacation this week. Good for her. Taking a week off, spending it with the grandkids. And big thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, and and Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps groups. Philippe, I did see that. I'm so sorry. I meant to respond to you in WhatsApp, and I did not have a chance. But I did see it, yes. We will definitely get together. Big embarrassing one today for Italy as it issued a driving license. David, I don't understand that. Oh, Mariupol, Russia, instead of Mariupol, Ukraine. Yeah. Yeah, no, Philippe, I did see that. I meant to get back to you. I'm sorry. Yeah, TikTok's definitely. Hey, Chris Carter. I thought that the shadow ban had been lifted, or I thought that whoever was manipulating views against my videos had stopped, because it seemed to be going all right there. And then we hit today. And I don't think I have a video today with more than 400 views. Would the Ukrainians be hitting the radar sites to retake Donetsk? I think they're hitting the radar sites to clear the skies for the F-16s. I think is what it is. That seems to be what the analysts believe. Another Shahed strayed, another Shahed. It's Shahed Nightshade. Another Shahed strayed into Russia and crashed, only a matter of time before one hit civilians. I don't get live notifications. I can't join your support. Crashed in Belarus, did it? Okay. It is funny how they keep going astray into Belarus. I don't know. There's something funny about that. Something awful fishy there. I mean, they don't go astray into Poland. They don't go astray into Hungary. They don't go astray into Slovakia. They don't go astray over the Black Sea. They don't go astray into Russia. They all go astray into Belarus. Does Belarus have some big magnet from the Acme Corporation? Arn, that's what I keep asking myself. Is it right? Because remember, not only do these drones keep going astray, but as soon as they started going astray, all of a sudden, the Belarusians moved all of their troops away from the Ukrainian border, saying that there was no more tension with Kyiv. All of a sudden. So I don't know, man. I don't know. All the views on your videos went to 0, then reset, and it's missing hundreds of thousands. Oh, that's great. Love this platform, boy. I mean, I do, right, because of all you. But it is being extra weird lately. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, guys, again, I apologize for running late tonight. Let me know in the comments what you want to talk about. Questions, comments, points of observation, or personal need. Belarus and China military exercises too, but Shadowhunter, that's only one company. It's 130 people. I mean, you want to talk about for show. That's not a real thing. No effing Helen, I'm afraid you're right. I am afraid you are right. It's a good place to incubate, but not to get stuck. I think you're right. What else is going on, guys? Anything? Anybody have anything? Listen, I'll tell you, I got to be up at 6 a.m. So if we really don't have anything to talk about, I think I'm going to cut it short. If a Shahed did hit Belarus civilians, Russia would blame Ukraine. Maybe that's the plan. No, that's... Bjorn, I don't know what that means. A bot gripe. I don't know what that means. And I can't translate it here. Thanks, Dark Irish. Ukraine needs more patriots. ASP, yes, indeed. The Gripens. The Gripens is a very confusing story. So last week, Kyiv refused the Griffins politely from Sweden, saying that they didn't want to try to integrate two airframes into the Air Force simultaneously. They wanted to get the F-16s done first, then bring the Gripens in. Then a week later, we see articles that Kyiv and Sweden are negotiating the transfer of the Gripens. So it's very confusing. Yes, Trash Hunter, I apologize. I did run late. So we don't really know what's happening with the Gripens. This is true. Hey, Breed. Good night, Mike. Thanks, Lars. So, guys, I'm going to call it a night here. It's past 1 in the morning, and I do have to be up at 6. So, I've had electricity now for 36 hours straight. 36 hours straight. Thanks, David. You too. It's very exciting. I'm starting to get comfortable having power again. And that's not a good thing because any minute it's going to go off. You just know it. At any rate, I want to thank Ballerina, who was the sponsor of tonight's live. I want to thank all of the moderators. Thank you, Nightshade, for your work on the Peter's Peeps group. Thank you, Lars, for your Discord server. God bless Vanetta on her vacation. And I will talk to everybody tomorrow. Thanks, guys.